Live from the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5 News.
Death and devastation in the North Bay as fast-moving wildfires explode across wine country, forcing tens of thousands to flee their homes. At least one person has been killed, hundreds of homes and businesses destroyed. Hospitals are evacuated, and the firefight has only just begun.
At least 14 fires are burning out of control across Napa, Sonoma, Mendocino, and Lake counties, incinerating tens of thousands of acres so far.
Our coverage begins with Alan Martin at the Journey's End Mobile Home Park in Santa Rosa, which has been completely destroyed. Alan?
Yeah, Liz, very few homes here are still standing, but just to tell you a little more specifically where I am just east of Highway 101, the Hilton Sonoma Hotel that Katie Nielsen was reporting on a little bit ago. That's on the hillside directly behind my camera, and while it looks like there may be some structure left, what's left is still on fire, and I have yet to see any type of a firefight. No water is being put on that hotel. There's another hotel that's gone. The Fountain Grove Inn was down the hill from the Hilton. It's completely gone. Kaiser Permanente Hospital is about a few blocks behind me there. It was evacuated, as you mentioned, but it is still standing. It has not been damaged whatsoever. That big flame that you're seeing behind me, that's coming from a gas line, obviously a high-pressure gas line. I'll explain what's going on there in a minute, and perhaps you can hear some jackhammering going on in the street. That's the PG&E crew or crews apparently trying to work on this line to get that thing shut off. I can still feel the heat coming from everything here in this park. As you said, it's the Journey's End Mobile Home Park, about 160 mobile homes here. I'm told that only 60 of those have made it through this devastating fire. The good news is that everyone here evacuated and got out in time. But when you look at what's left, the twisted, melted homes, the cars, the trucks, they were very, very lucky indeed. I think you used the word devastation. That is really the best description that we have. Flames are still burning, as you say, in Sonoma County. We've been saying more than 57,000 acres have burned, at least 1,500 structures destroyed, about 100 of those right here in this mobile home park. 20,000 people are evacuated, and as you mentioned, at least one person has died, and we're expecting that number may go up from there.
I think what we're going to find when we talk to seasoned fire professionals here in the next several days is they're going to talk about conditions that they have not seen before.
Well, besides the homes and the neighborhood evacuations, as I mentioned, Kaiser, one of the hospitals evacuated, they moved 130 patients, most of them taken down to Kaiser Permanente in San Rafael. Sutter Santa Rosa Regional Hospital evacuated 80 of its patients, and adding to the chaos, more than 100 people were injured in the fires early on. Now, more than a dozen evacuation centers, we're told, are open right now. In Sonoma County, the Santa Rosa and Sebastopol Veterans Buildings, the Anali High School Gym, Sebastopol Community Center, and Cloverdale Fairgrounds. Now, the Sonoma Valley High School, Cook Middle School, Findlay Community Center, Petaluma Community Center, Healdsburg Community Center, those are all being used as evacuation centers. In Napa County, another list for you: Napa Valley College Gym, the Napa County Fairgrounds, Crosswalk Community Church, and for animals now, we're told that the Napa County Animal Shelter is also taking in some pets. Now, the fire, of course, ripping through neighborhood after neighborhood. Several homes in the Coffee Park area of Santa Rosa are gone, just destroyed. KPIX5's Jackie Ward has spent much of the day in that area. Jackie?
Alan, it looks as if, there were bombs that were dropped in parts of this neighborhood. It's Coffee Park. It's the northwest part of the city of Santa Rosa. Take a look behind me. This is just a little block, not even a full block of where these homes were completely destroyed. Cars still sitting in the driveway because these flames came in and did not give much notice for people to evacuate safely. Just about an hour ago, CAL FIRE got here to take care of the hot spots that had been continuing to burn because of those gas lines that you mentioned earlier, Alan. And you can still see some here with a lot of smoke, and only that one CAL FIRE firefighter with one hose. A lot of the neighbors have had to resort to using some garden hose to maintain the hot spots. You know, we first got here because we were on our way to Sutter Health from Kaiser to see what the scenes were there. Patients had to be evacuated. But before we even got to Sutter, we found the remnants of this neighborhood. And it shocked us because we were talking to people and they quickly told us and explained that this is one of those safe, ideal neighborhoods in Northern California in the Bay Area that kids ride their bikes around. It's safe. It's a quiet neighborhood where everyone knows everyone. And one person we spoke to said that he has a lot of friends and he grew up around here and he cannot believe what he's seeing today.
This is devastating, though. It doesn't even look familiar. Used to hang out in this neighborhood a lot when I was younger, and I have an uncle who lives down the road, and it's terrible.
So we could see and hear small flames roaring because those gas lines were still on. And from where we were standing, as you can see in this video, we could not see a single home that survived this fire. Firefighters have been driving up and down San Miguel Road. But as of a couple of hours ago, that was the first time we saw active firefighting here with hoses trying to dampen and extinguish these flames. But right now you can see behind me that San Miguel Ave is actually full of traffic. People seem to be maybe returning to their homes to get some belongings before heading back out to an evacuation center where there's power. Others, though, are gawking at what's become a local spectacle, and they're taking pictures, they're taking video. Emergency personnel does want this area to remain as clear as possible so you can let the firefighters come in and do their job. So you want to stay out of this area if you can. Alan?
Absolutely. All right, Jackie Ward, thank you. The same is true for Mendocino Avenue here. I do see some firefighters moving through, but in trying to get here, in fact, this morning was 10 o'clock or so, they weren't allowing people in because of downed power lines. It was just too dangerous. But people have found their way in here. They're walking along. They're taking pictures. They just cannot believe what they're seeing. You know, this Journey's End mobile home park kind of sits in the shadows of those multi-million-dollar homes that are up on the hill. And these neighbors here in this community, you know, they're working folks, they're elderly, they're on fixed income. This is basically all they have. Their home, their belongings, it's all gone. And it's really impossible for them to believe. But what's amazing when you see this destruction that's gone on behind me is that everyone here made it out alive. In fact, I talked to the property manager here, and he described what it was like. He went door to door to get everybody out.
It started up on this end of the park. It jumped from the round barn up here, and it started hitting the bushes and trees up on, that's called Flamingo Street up there. Right. And at that point, I went door to door.
It's a miracle that everybody got out, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We went over to Kaiser and watched it from the parking tower, and about 45 minutes, there was still no fire truck here because they were just so busy everywhere.
So how many homes are in here?
There's 160 homes, and I think right now there's maybe 60 left at the most.
And the folks who lived here typically?
Seniors, on Social Security and everything.
This is all they had, probably.
This is all they had. So I don't even know if, some of them had insurance.
When you look around, it's just hard to get your head around this, isn't it?
Well, to me, it looks like a nuclear bomb went off, It's just, amazing. This park belonged to the owners since about 57, so they're devastated. So now I guess it's, insurance companies and, fire department is going to probably have to go back and rake through some of this, but I don't know what they want to do with the park. We just did a utility upgrade because this fire you see over your shoulder here, that's the main, what they call a legacy gas line. Oh. And I tried to get that off this morning, but it was, so engulfed in here, the police just grabbed me and escorted me out.
Yeah, just to explain a little bit more about what he called that legacy gas line that's burning behind me. That's been burning since really the fire got started in here, besides the property manager trying to get to it, but it was too hot. PG&E crews have been checking in on it all day. As I say, there's a crew with a backhoe working in the street. I assume that has something to do with trying to get that thing off. But right next to it, that big green tank, that's a water tank, actually. But directly behind that is a huge propane tank that they've been very concerned about. They tell us we're far enough away that we're safe. But still, if it gets hot enough, that could blow too.
Yeah, Alan, just be careful out there. You had mentioned moments ago that folks are coming back to assess the damage. Have you been able to speak with any of them? What are they saying to you?
You know, it's a delicate situation to try to go up to someone like that. In fact, just before we came on the air at 4 o'clock, there was a young couple escorting an elderly woman past us, and they were all in tears. It's just such... It's impossible for them to believe, and you know, I'd have to assume for that woman this was everything she had. This was her home. Everything she owned was in it. It's gone. If she had a car, that's gone too. It's you know, it's really been hard for people to talk about it. Most of them kind of just wave us off.
Yeah, understandably so. All right, Alan Martin at Journey's End Mobile Home Park. Alan, we're going to check back with you. Alan, thanks.
Taking a live look outside right now, you can see the hazy sky above the Bay Area, just this thick blanket of brown and gray smoke. It's from the fires, and it's blanketing the Bay Area right now. People from San Francisco and all the way down to the peninsula have been calling 911 wanting to know what's burning. Well, the strong winds push the smoke south and pushing the air quality into the unhealthy range. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Paul Diano. Paul.
And we'll keep it nice and basic. If you can see smoke where you live, if you can smell smoke where you live, it's a very smart thing to do to use common sense and minimize or eliminate that outdoor exposure this afternoon, this evening. Close your windows. If you have a recycle or recirculate button on your air conditioning, it'd be wise to do that as well. The air quality is poor. As a matter of fact, I just checked the air quality in Napa, which is in the very unhealthy range. It is worse than Beijing, China today. The air quality ranking in Napa is 263 parts per million. Beijing, China today was 205. So if you can see or smell smoke, even if you're not near the fires, even if you're down towards San Jose or Gilroy, it's a good bet to stay indoors this afternoon, this evening. Keep the windows closed. Air quality is poor. This evening, the winds may kick up in the higher elevations once again, gusting 45, 50, 55 miles per hour. The worst of it's finished, but we could see some gusty winds overnight tonight. Relative humidity is still extremely low, so the red flag warning for the North Bay Mountains, the East Bay Hills, and also the Santa Cruz Mountains, that will continue. As for why it happened, it's fall east of the Rockies and east of the Sierra, and a very strong ridge of high pressure is pushing the wind from the northeast to the southwest. Strong offshore winds took some very small fires overnight and made them very large fires. And if that 1,500 structure number is correct, already, guys, this is a top 5 fire event in California history, and it just started about 18 hours ago. Back to you.
Wow. All right, Paul, thank you. The fire is causing a lot of disruption for people who are trying to get around. Roads are closed. Transit is shut down. Even airports in the area haven't been operating. Now, these lists are constantly changing, but the latest information is what we have so far. Authorities blocking a perimeter several miles wide from Fulton Road to Mark West Springs Road, and then to Montecito Boulevard to Steele Lane. Now, as for public transit, Marin Transit and Sonoma County Transit have canceled their bus services. Golden Gate Transit has canceled service in the Santa Rosa area. And then Petaluma Transit won't be running school buses today in the area of the fires. Smart train service also canceled for the morning commute. Right now, Amtrak service has also been disrupted, and there is no word yet as to when things will be back to normal. Now, as for air travel, both the Sonoma and the Napa County airports are closed until further notice. And all Santa Rosa City schools also closed tomorrow. Sonoma State University will be closed tomorrow as well.
Well, another devastating fire has ripped across at least 25,000 acres in Napa County. We'll take you there live after a short break. Stay with us.
Get you updated right now on several wildfires burning across wine country, also neighboring counties. In all, CAL FIRE says 15 fires are burning, at least 73,000 acres. At least 1,500 structures have been destroyed and 20,000 people evacuated. At least one person has died, and we are told those numbers are expected to go up. CAL FIRE and several agencies from around the state are being called to fight these fires. They're making water drops from the air and dropping fire retardant, anything they can to help keep the flames from spreading. Now, some of you have been tweeting your pictures of the haze hanging over the city. This one came in early this morning. That was when the smoke was the most intense. The air is bad all over the Bay Area right now, and Kristen Ayers is in the Oakland Hills with this report.
Susan Rodriguez says she smelled it first thing in the morning at her Fairfield home.
It was bad. I mean, it was, you could hardly, it was thick. And plus, you could look over the ridge and you could see the glow of the fire on the other side of the ridge.
It looked clear at this park in Alameda where we met her, but when we went to higher ground, the view from the Oakland Hills mostly obscured by haze from the fires, locked over parts of the East Bay. Air quality officials say it's thick with particulate matter, which can get deep in the lungs and worsen breathing problems.
What I would say is if you smell smoke and you see smoke, protect yourself. Keep yourself indoors with windows and doors closed, and try not to do a lot of heavy exercise outdoors when there's smoke present.
The group's most vulnerable, young children, the elderly, pregnant women, and those with respiratory issues like asthma. Health officials say there's no telling how long the haze will hang around.
If whether the wind patterns shift, we might see a clearing of our skies, but it's really dependent on how long these fires burn and where they're burning from.
Now, as we said, some of that smoke is mostly localized to the East Bay and the North Bay right now. You can see that skyline over Oakland right now and just how hazy it is from up here. A lot of that smoke still socked in there, but it is spreading around. It has spread over to the South Bay. We have some pictures that we'll bring you a little later on showing just how bad it is over there. Speaking to air quality officials, they told me that the issue here and what is really going to dictate what happens next here and how bad the air quality will continue to be is going to be the wind. That is the big wild card here. They said this is sort of a double-edged sword. If you get more wind picked up, it's obviously going to push a lot of that smoke out of this area right now, and they're hopeful for that. But by the same token, that could also mean that they would then be dealing with those winds over in the North Bay as well, and that could obviously present a problem for firefighters, seeing those flames kick back up and making it more difficult. And we could then see a cycle where we continue to see problems with air quality here. So once again, air quality officials telling people to be careful going outdoors, particularly if you have any respiratory illness or anything of that nature. They're saying specifically if you start to experience wheezing or tightness of chest or anything like that, that's when you want to get in touch with your healthcare provider. Reporting live in the Oakland Hills, Kristen Ayers, KPIX 5.
Well, it was a horrible night for hundreds of evacuees who had to find their way through the flames with little or no notice. Our Wilson Walker takes us into the inferno next. Taking a live look at some of the devastation on the ground there. You're looking live from Santa Rosa there at the hospital. This is a mobile home park that has been completely destroyed. Authorities confirming now 3 people have been killed in the North Bay wildfires. 2 of those deaths reported in Napa County. The earlier fatality was from Mendocino County. The sheriff there warned that he was expecting more casualties. We're also learning that there's been issues getting some self-service and Wi-Fi connections. Comcast making some Wi-Fi hotspots available throughout wine country to find out where there's shelters, Red Cross and FEMA shelters as well, and where you can get assistance. We're also told that 99,000 people are without power in Napa and Sonoma counties.
And people all around the Bay have been tweeting about just how smoky it is outside. I mean, look at these live pictures right here. This photo coming into us, being captured from a commercial flight coming into San Francisco this morning. Looking at that window of the plane, you can actually see the flames. So lots of folks on social media sharing their pictures and their video. You can feel free to tweet me at Veronica DL Cruz as well. We do know that Sonoma County is going to have a 5 o'clock press conference, Liz, that we will be carrying live right here on KPIX 5. And in the meantime, going back to the smoke being such an issue, we want to bring Paul Diano in now to give us an idea of what these fire crews are up against. Paul?
Well, the smoke is one issue that we're dealing with all throughout the Bay Area. Even if you're not close to the fire, you're breathing the effects of the fire. You're breathing it in San Jose. You're breathing it in Oakland. You're breathing it in Fremont, certainly in San Francisco. And right now, portions of Napa County have worse air quality than any place in China today, with the air quality index all the way up to 263. At 50, you hit moderate. At 100, you get unhealthy. We're at 263 right now in the city of Napa. Widespread air quality, the worst, obviously, closest to the fire, where we have unhealthy air quality all throughout the North Bay, including you and Marin. Also, Mendocino County, I haven't forgot about you. You have fires burning as well. Also, unhealthy air quality right along the San Mateo coastline, the city of San Francisco, and the Central Bay, including the city of Oakland. Let's talk about the wind speeds. So much better now than they were 18 hours ago. We had wind gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour in the North Bay, taking small fires with a few embers and spreading them into huge fires with literally the fire line moving 30 or 40 miles per hour as new trees and new structures were burning ahead of the actual fire because the embers were getting blown around by 40 to 70 mile per hour winds. As of right now, two things are happening. One, the wind speeds are way down, between 5 and 10 miles per hour for the majority of the Bay Area. Also, we're beginning to see a westerly component return to the winds. That is the afternoon sea breeze. So we'll begin to see the smoke leave the immediate Bay Area and begin to get pushed to the north and to the east, toward Sacramento, toward, let's say, Redding and the Central Valley. That is a wind shift that will be going on now through the next 24 hours, and onshore flow is returning. What happens next? The winds have begun to subside. They will continue to subside, but right at the point of fire, right where things are still burning, that's creating its own weather. Those winds are still going to be gusty, they're still going to be erratic, and still causing a big headache for the thousands of firefighters that will be working on these 14 different fires. Fuel is still very dry. We have not had a widespread rainfall for 150 days, and humidity levels, even though they'll creep up a bit, they're still going to be low. And what we need right now is a widespread rain. We could use a good quarter-inch or half-inch soaking rainfall. We begin to see those chances increase in October. Unfortunately, what happened this year, we had the strong wind event before we had any rain events. And that's why we're seeing something. I pulled up some stats here, guys, on the Oakland Hills fire. 1991, October 19th and October 20th. Strong northeast winds overnight gusting to 65 miles per hour. We had that this morning. Small fires not completely put out that exploded in size during the morning hours. We had that today. And obviously our fuels, just like just about every October, they're extremely low. So the wind's dying down, but certainly these fires are not going to be put out anytime soon. They're simply too big. And now they're creating their own weather, their own winds, and their own problems right at the point of contact where the fires are continuing to burn. Back to you.
Well, the fire has left entire sections of Santa Rosa in ruins. We'll go back out live to Alan Martin for the very latest in 90 seconds. Stay with us.
Welcome back to KPIX5's continuing coverage of the devastating wildfires ripping through wine country. Here's what we know right now. 3 people now confirmed dead, but that casualty count could rise. 6 people with burn injuries have been transported to St. Francis Hospital here in San Francisco. 2 right now in critical condition. 4 are in critical but stable condition.
And the fires have exploded across more than 70,000 acres, reducing at least 1,500 homes and businesses to rubble. Dozens of those homes once stood in the Journey's End mobile home park in Santa Rosa, and that's where KPIX5 anchor Alan Martin is now. Alan?
Yeah, ladies, this is on Mendocino Avenue, just east of Highway 101, and I'm going to step out of the way because there are about 160 mobile homes here. People had lived here for quite a while. They're elderly, they're on fixed income, and as I step out of the way, you see that big flame, of course, but behind that are some of the mobile homes that were saved, and my colleague Len Ramirez pointed out, you know, it looks like they were creating a fire line to keep it from getting beyond those homes to Kaiser Permanente Hospital, which has been evacuated, but yes, it was saved. But in front of those homes that have mostly been saved, about 60, I'm told, that they were able to save, you can see what happened to these other homes. It's just things are melted, they're destroyed, the cars, the trucks, everything. And as the property manager told me when I talked to him earlier today, he said to him it looks like this was a nuclear bomb that went off. And, you know, you look at the trees, they look like skeletons, and the remnants of what was in people's homes, their ovens, their actually outdoor backyard barbecues and so forth. But everything that was inside, every stick of furniture, clothing, everything, hot water heaters, it's all out here on the ground. It's melted, it's twisted. The fire must have been so intense. And in fact, that gas line that is still burning, the heat from that we can still smell. As you said, the smoke is incredible. The sun is an orange ball up there. But we've been wandering through the neighborhood trying to get a little bit better perspective as some people do try to come back and pick through what might have survived this. There isn't much. I saw 2 people come out with maybe a bag full of their belongings, so there's not much here. But about 10 o'clock this morning, let me show you some video actually from earlier here at this mobile home park. The Santa Rosa Hilton, they call it the Hilton Sonoma. It's actually still burning. it's going to be completely gone because there's no way to save it. We haven't seen any firefighters, not any water. It's right. I can hear Katie Nielsen covered this fire earlier today, and now there's still thick black smoke coming from parts of that building. We can see flames coming from that. She said at that time didn't see any firefighters, and we haven't seen it, and I've been here most of the day today. And clearly firefighters, it's not a criticism, they're just stretched so thin. They're very overwhelmed. But that hotel is gone. We haven't heard that anyone was injured at that hotel, but at least 20,000 people ordered evacuated in Napa and here in Sonoma counties. Now, we do have some evacuation centers to report. People have been calling the newsroom and emailing the news desk asking for this information. So let me give you a list. First, we're going to go with Napa County, Napa Valley College Gym, the Napa County Fairgrounds, Crosswalk Community Church. Now, if you have animals, we're told that the Napa County Animal Shelter is indeed taking in pets. More than a dozen evacuation centers are open in Sonoma County. The Santa Rosa Sebastopol Veterans Buildings, those are being used. The Inali High School gym is. The Community Center in Sebastopol is another evacuation center, as well as the Cloverdale Fairgrounds. The Sonoma Valley High School, Cook Middle School, Findlay Community Center, Petaluma Community Center, Healdsburg Community Center, all these places stepping up and helping out because so many people had to be evacuated. And I'm going to bring in my colleague Len Ramirez. And Len, I mentioned, you pointed out to me that the reason they created that fire line there is to save Kaiser Permanente, most likely, but indeed they were able to save the whole homes.
That's right, Alan. When this fire was burning at its peak, this mobile home park was up in flames, and they could only hope to try and save that Kaiser Permanente hospital back there. So they basically drew a line at that last row of mobile homes, and it looks like they were able to stop the fire. It must have been just completely devastating to be here. You know, this fire has devastated wide sections of Santa Rosa, and we're talking about evacuations of thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. And these are people that were staying in the area because this is wine country. We're talking about the residents of this mobile home park.
Well,
and
you talked to somebody at the Hilton Hotel, too, that got out.
That's right. Somebody had just had seconds to get out. They didn't even get a knock on the door, this gentleman told me. They had a sheriff come by with a loudspeaker telling people to evacuate, and so they basically ran, some of them barefoot, basically for their lives. But all of these people have had to run for their lives or drive out of the fire, including the gentleman you're about to meet. Lennon Smith says evacuating the Coffee Park neighborhood was like going through hell and back, and his cell phone video pretty much backs that up.
It looked like a bomb went off. It made San Bruno's PG&E look like a small affair. It was pretty traumatic. It's pretty bad.
That was about 10 last night when he and his nephew evacuated with Smith's parents.
You couldn't see the flames because the smoke was so thick. That's what made it so bad. Because you look outside, it's like a lot of fog. And then by the time the flames got there, it was way too late.
They left their house with almost nothing. What'd you grab?
I grabbed my parents and everything that mattered. Just left.
Thanks. I hope you didn't lose your...
What do you know about your place now?
It's burnt to the ground. Went back. The whole block on Hopper Lane. Basically, almost every house right there is completely burnt to the ground.
And many, many stories just like that.
Just like that. I spoke to many people at the Findlay Community Center, which is setting up now with overnight cots and food service, things like that. It's one of several evacuation centers, as you mentioned, here in the city of Santa Rosa and surrounding area.
The whole community is, the community has really stepped up.
The community is doing a fabulous job. I mean, the people are really caring for their neighbors. I saw truckload after truckload, young people, older folks coming in with water, with food, people offering to walk dogs, things like that. Just the kind of response that you would like to see from a neighborhood in a disaster like this.
Hey, I'm just going to touch on your good memory here, because you were telling me earlier you covered the Oakland Hills fire in '91. Yeah. What are the comparisons?
The comparisons are that there was complete devastation in both places, but But the difference to me is that in the Oakland Hills fire, it was kind of in places where you would expect to see devastation, up in the hills, in the steep sections, up narrow roads. But the difference here is that we're on city streets. I mean, there's a Home Depot just down the block here, and you know, we're on the flatlands, and to have this kind of devastation, a major hotel across the street, the Hilton, which burned to the ground, it's just incredible. But from what I was hearing from the people who were evacuated earlier, the winds were just swirling. It was blinding. They could feel the heat, the preheating of the fire even before the flames got there. It was
and
just,
you didn't know which way to move, and that's very disconcerting.
Yeah, it was sort of the fog of war, because they said it was a tremendous amount of smoke, and they could hear the flames, they could hear things exploding and going off, but they couldn't really see it because there was so much smoke. And then as they got close, as they were driving out, then they saw the flames.
They could tell.
And then they were just lucky to get out of there.
Len Ramirez, great job. Thanks very much. We're going to tag team here. I'm going to bring in Wilson Walker, because we talk about, you know, someone who's been here a long time, and also that feeling, Wilson, you were telling me that, boy, you just didn't know which way it was coming from, and at one point you were kind of caught in the middle.
I think that was the most unique experience from this fire compared to other fires. Was normally you get to a situation like this and there's a highway patrol officer, maybe a fire official, saying, don't go this way, go that way to safety. I don't think anyone had any idea exactly which way to go. I arrived from sort of coming out of Marin, heading towards Napa, was on Highway 12, and one of those fires was coming off of a ridge.
About what time?
This is about 2 in the morning,
okay,
I'd say.
Early.
It's burning south. You can see it on the top of the ridge, but the way the wind was blowing, just the ferocity of it, the fire moved just like, I hate to use the cliche, but it was like a blowtorch. You could see exactly which direction that fire was moving. You knew exactly where it was going to go. And if you were on these highways, you didn't have a lot of choices. There was fire to the east. There's fire coming down from the north.
So you just kept going. You had to keep moving?
Well, a lot of people just kept going, or you're driving until suddenly you're surrounded by fire on either side of the road. And you're thinking, do I turn around? Do I keep going? It just kept unfolding. And like I said, I don't think that was just the civilians who were confused. I think everyone was a little confused.
Wow. And I asked Lane about the 91 Oakland Hills. You covered the big fire up in Weed. Give me some perspective. How does it compare?
Yeah, you know, I would compare it to the Bowles fire in Weed, in that you had residential areas that may not necessarily strike you as sort of urban wildlife interface area. You know, these were neighborhoods that were lost, and one gentleman I just spoke with in Santa Rosa said, I never expected my house to burn down in a residential neighborhood. I mean, I think the folks who lived out maybe in the winery areas, the more remote areas of Sonoma,
it's more possibility,
more have been thinking about it. But I think there are folks in a lot of towns around here who are stunned that this happened.
Wilson, great narrative, great pictures too. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it. I know he's pretty tired, as are many people here who have been working this fire, especially the firefighters that we have seen here in this mobile home park. All right, one thing I want to make clear is that I believe there's going to be a press conference at 5 o'clock that we're going to carry live at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. We'll have some of the latest numbers and information, but the latest I know is that confirmed 3 people have been killed in the devastating fires here in Sonoma and Napa counties.
All right, Alan, thank you. And we'll, of course, have the latest numbers and evacuation center information on our website, cbssf.com. Alan, we'll check back in with you in just a little bit. But we have a news alert on this wildfire. Let's get you right to Ken Bastida. He's in our newsroom. Ken?
Yeah, this thing's getting updated by the minute. And unfortunately, Veronica and Elizabeth, sad news in the last few minutes coming into the newsroom. We have learned now that 10 people have lost their lives in this fire overnight. The Sonoma County Sheriff's Department reporting 7 dead in their county, in Sonoma County. And that adds to the 2 confirmed deaths in Napa County. Now, 2 in Napa County and 1 death in Mendocino County. Again, these are confirmed by the California Highway Patrol and by the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department. 10 dead so far. This fire, deadly fire, now moved so fast that it happened late in the evening, and people were caught completely off guard. The worry is that more people may not have been able to escape the flames than we first anticipated. There have been thousands, as you know, who have evacuated and were successful in getting out. But we run into situations all the time in these kinds of emergencies, guys, where people, the elderly, they're asleep. Families go to bed. They don't realize that the danger is just over the next hill. And by the time help gets there, it's too late. So, again, just to reiterate those numbers, 10 deaths Total now. 7 in Sonoma County, confirmed by the CHP and the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department, 2 in Napa County, and 1 in Mendocino County. 10 people lost their lives overnight. That's what we know right now, and we'll get you more as we get it in. Guys?
All right, Ken, we appreciate it. It is now 4:40 local time. We are standing by for a press conference at 5 o'clock that is coming from Sonoma. In the meantime, still to come, with thousands of people forced from their homes, the race is on to save the animals left behind.
An all-out assault from the air over Napa and Sonoma counties this afternoon, where more than 70,000 acres have burned, forcing thousands of people to flee their homes. The fast-moving flames are also sending animals scrambling to safety. We spotted these 2 spooked horses running loose in the street in Napa County. They stopped a line of cars trying to get away from the fire. We're told some people were able to corral the horses. Then they rigged a makeshift pen to keep them safe. KPIX 5 reporter Don Ford shows us the fires have also laid waste to several wineries. Don?
The once posh Signorella winery is reduced to ashes. Melted bottles that contained expensive wine still on the shelf of what may have been the tasting room. With broken propane lines still flaming, the infinity pool now looks over a smoky Napa Valley. Everything else here at the winery's main building is completely burned to the ground.
Sad. It's so sad.
A short distance away, Rick Cook is still trying to save his home with a garden hose.
These houses on the edge of the canyon were really at risk during that one. And during that one, we had embers in the air everywhere. And I stood here with 2 hoses. I want to go get the other one from the back.
These inmate crews did what they could to save houses, but like some wineries up Atlas Road, these houses are lost. But there is some good news. Across Atlas Road is William Hill Estate Winery. During the night, flames swarmed across the hills, racing toward the winery, but stopped at the vineyards. The flames did not reach the main building. This winery survived.
And that was Don Ford there reporting. Many of the evacuees right now being treated in San Rafael at the Kaiser Permanente Medical Center. And Joe Vasquez has been there. Joe, what can you tell us?
Well, yeah, we're standing in front of Kaiser Permanente Medical Center in San Rafael, and this is actually quite a distance from the fire. We're talking about 35 miles away from Santa Rosa, and the other fire, another Kaiser Permanente hospital that was smack in the middle of things. And so what we wanted to tell you about is what happened overnight. According to hospital officials, they were able to evacuate about 130 patients from the Santa Rosa Medical Center overnight. They brought the bulk of them here. The transfer successfully completed by 6 a.m. Also, patients were taken to other local hospitals and evacuation sites. And we're told that in some cases, patients were brought by private vehicles as well, which means medical personnel were literally loading patients into their own cars and bringing them here to San Rafael. Kaiser officials not confirming that yet. On the record, they are telling us non-critically ill patients were transported as well by private buses. Now, Kaiser wants to report that its Santa Rosa Hospital, as well as the Napa medical offices in Napa, are not damaged but are closed today. Scheduled appointments and surgeries have been canceled. At this point, Veronica and Liz, none of the injured patients from the fire zone have been brought here, but we're being told to stand by because that could change as the events on the ground prove otherwise. Reporting live, I'm Joe Vasquez, KPIX 5.
All right, Joe, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, Paul, we've been talking about what happened overnight and what caused this fire just to get so big, and really it was the winds. But what caused the winds to be so powerful?
It is interesting to note that of these 7 worst fire outbreaks in California's history, where now this one is already up to number 5, with 1,500 structures burned, each of them has happened in either the months of September or October. It's this time of year, because this particular pattern sets up. We get a strong ridge of high pressure way off to our east, because it's getting cold there, and the air begins to sink, and you get these huge ridges of high pressure, and wind flows out from higher pressure toward areas of lower pressure. With a ridge in this location, we get an east to west wind. That's a strong offshore wind They're not all created equal. Some are stronger, some are weaker. This one was a very strong one, and the strongest winds that we saw anywhere in the Bay Area overnight was right in the area where we did have a few small fires that were made huge fires because the embers from those fires were carried between 50 and 75 miles per hour downwind, literally exploding the size of these things. There was a forward movement of some of these fires that simply could not be contained by any type of firefighting effort. People were literally just trying to get out for their lives. Now, when it comes to where the fires are blowing the smoke now, the wind is coming from the north to the south or northeast to southwest, which means Marin County, Napa County, Solano County, portions of the East Bay, including Oakland and Richmond, and also down towards San Bruno and San Mateo. You're getting the worst of the smoke, and here's a very common sense approach of things. You can smell smoke, you can see smoke where you are. It's really smart to not go outside because the air quality is poor at best. In many locations in the North Bay, it's even worse than that. A couple things I want to show you here. The wind is going to change tomorrow. It is not going to be as warm. That's the good news. But I see a lot of sunshine there. To get the fire danger down to where we want it, we need a widespread rain event. We often begin to get those in the month of October. Next 7 days, not going to happen. So the fire danger stays elevated until we get rainfall, and it's not going to happen over the next week. Back to you.
All right, Paul, we'll check back with you. Thank you. The fires have left a number of North Bay businesses in ruins. A closer look at the damage when we come back. Taking it back live to Napa right now, where as many as 1,500 homes, businesses have been destroyed, and those numbers are expected to climb. Many Santa Rosa neighborhoods also under mandatory evacuations right now.
KPIX5's Katie Nielsen was at one neighborhood where flames have devoured several homes.
We went up the hill a little bit more into some of these areas that were evacuated in the Sunset Vista neighborhood. And take a look back behind me. You can see the majority of these homes have burned to the ground. There is one home that is still standing, and the home next to it is currently engulfed in a fireball of flames. You can see that thick black smoke pouring out from that fire. There is a house here, like we were talking about. One is engulfed, the home next to it still standing, and it is the only home in this neighborhood. If we take a look over to the left, you can see what's left of some of these homes. It is the eeriest scene and situation here because we're seeing the remnants of homes. We're seeing parts of chimneys, rock walls, things that did not burn during the fire is what we're actually looking at right now. And again, we're in the Sunset Vista neighborhood. It's an area that's up above the Hilton. So what we did is we went up the hill on Fountain Grove Parkway. And when we came into this area, we were drawn in by the flames and that thick black smoke that we're talking about over here. I don't know if you can hear it, but we can hear parts of that home literally collapsing in on itself right now. The entire home is coming down.
Meanwhile, flames have also consumed this Arby's restaurant in Santa Rosa. You can see the roof collapsed after the flames swept through. The fire has also destroyed a McDonald's restaurant nearby. 2 hotels were also severely damaged. Santa Rosa, as you can see, simply under siege as the fires continue their relentless march. After the break, we'll go back out live to the devastated Coffee Park area. You're watching KPIX5's continuing coverage of the wildfires laying waste to wine country. Here's what we know right now. At least 10 people are confirmed dead. More than 70,000 acres have burned, and at least 1,500 homes and businesses are gone.
Several homes in Santa Rosa are gone. KPIX5's Jackie Ward is live in the middle of the devastation in the Coffee Park neighborhood right now. Jackie?
Liz and Veronica, it's almost like a foggy late afternoon in San Francisco. That's how dense the smoke is and has been all afternoon. This is why. This used to be a home here in the Coffee Park neighborhood. It's in the northwest section of Santa Rosa, and the presence of CAL FIRE has been sparse. That has led these people to resort to using their garden hoses to keep any hot spots from flaring back up. But that fire started, we're almost at the 24-hour mark, and you can see that the flames were shooting and left complete devastation. Earlier, we were in a different part of the neighborhood, just a couple blocks back, and there were blocks where you couldn't see a standing home. The fact that they have standing homes in this area is incredible. because that's not the case for this neighborhood. So we were speaking to a CAL FIRE deputy chief who told me he has never seen wreckage like this.
I've been on the Valley Fire, I've been on the Rocky Fire, I've been on the Jerusalem Fire, which are in Lake County as well. Just this amount of devastation seems to be that much more than those fires before.
Of course, we know it's fire season here, but the CAL FIRE deputy chief said to see fire tear through this densely populated area is just terrifying. Back to you.
And Jackie, it looks like somewhat of a ghost town there, but we do see a line of cars behind you. Are those folks who have yet to evacuate?
Actually, no. There are people who evacuated and then went back to their homes to perhaps get some belongings. But this has been a steady stream of traffic for the last couple of hours now, and this has become a spectacle here locally. Back to you.
All right, Jackie Ward live for us in the Coffee Park neighborhood of Santa Rosa. Jackie, thank you. Stay with us. KPX5's coverage of the North Bay wildfires.